Internet, with all this political hoopla and all this stuff going on, I mean, it's November, yeah. But it's not until next year that we're going to elect the freaking president, but yet people can't stop freaking talking about it. So what the hell? Okay.
You going to be all right over there, buddy?
Being an American, guys, I get it. We live in a privileged area. We're in a pretty daggone good country. Some parts of, and you know what? It could always be worse. I mean, we take a lot of stuff for granted. But here's the thing. There are little problems with our country, smallest, most infinitesimal problems that would require little to no effort to fix, but yet for some reason, because of some dumbass tradition, it stays in. Ben, would you agree that the Electoral College is bullshit?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Okay.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
Yes, the Electoral College is bullshit. Now, for you people out there who are not from the United States, and hey, if you're not from the United States, it's fine, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, a lot of our fans are not from the United States, and we love you guys.
It's pretty cool.
I mean, hey, I love chatting with people from all over the world, but here in the United States, we have probably the worst election system ever devised by human beings. And I get it. Hundreds of years ago, before technology was able to determine things, this would have been effective in some sort of way. But now we have things that can detect accuracy up into the umpteenth million point in terms of calculation. But yet we cannot decide who gets into the White House based upon popular vote. How the hell is that?
Well, I think another part of it was that people were determined not to be well enough informed about the issue at the time of the Electoral College's creation. That's the way I understand it. Now, with pretty much instant access to the internet, all manner of media about
all
politics,
knowledge everywhere from this thing.
Yeah,
right
here.
If we use it to look up cat videos.
Yeah. People have the capability to be informed about everything.
Yes.
Whether or not they choose to be, completely different issue. But yet we still maintain that, so we're all going to vote, and it's basically going to be nothing because the Electoral College is going to decide.
Yeah. So we have a video queued up here. It's The Trouble with the Electoral College by CGP Grey. Ben has never seen this.
Nope.
And I'm coming back to revisit CGP Grey because it's been a long time since I've seen a lot of his videos. So
Caleb has seen this video many times.
Yes.
Multiple times.
Yes. So he'll be in the back. He'll be on the back burner, and after this is all over, and Ben has seen this and the hell that it contains.
Oh boy.
We may have a rant on our hands, and if we do,
oh, I'm sure we'll have a rant on our hands.
So
oh
yeah.
boy.
So yeah, we'll deal with that as it comes. But for right now, let's get started.
All right.
In a fair democracy, everyone's vote should count equally, but the method that the United States uses to elect its president, called the Electoral College, violates this principle by making sure that some people's votes are more equal than others. The Electoral College is, essentially, the 538 votes that determine who wins the presidency. If these votes were split evenly across a population, every 574,000 people would be represented by one vote. But that's not what happens because the Electoral College doesn't give votes to people, only states, which has some unfair consequences. For example, there are 11.5 million people in Ohio, so, to fairly represent them, it should get 20 electoral votes. But the Electoral College doesn't give Ohio 20 votes, it only gets 18, 2 less than it should. Where'd those other votes go? To states like Rhode Island. Plucky Rhode Island has 1.1 million people in it, so it should have about 2 votes, but instead it gets 4. Those extra 2 votes that should be representing Ohioans go to representing Rhode Islanders
Ohio is
instead.
not pleased.
Why? Because, according to the
You
rules
mad,
of the
Ohio?
Electoral College, every state, no matter how few people live there, gets 3 votes to start with before the rest are distributed according to population. Because of this rule, there are a lot of states with a few people that should only have 1 or 2 votes for president but instead get 3 or 4. So Georgians, Virginians, Michiganders, and Jerseyites are each missing 1 vote. Pennsylvanians, North Carolinians, Ohioans, and Hoosiers are missing 2, Floridians are missing 4, New Yorkers 5, Texans 6, and Californians are 10 votes short of what they should get. Because of this vote redistribution, the Electoral College essentially pretends that fewer people live where they do and more people live where they don't. An American who lives in one of these states has their vote for president count for less than an American who lives in one of these states. In some cases, the Electoral College bends the results just a little, but if you live in a particularly large or small state, it bends them a lot. One Vermonter's vote, according to the Electoral College, is worth 3 Texans' votes, and one Wyomingite's vote is worth 4 Californians. Now whoa, hold on there, son, you might be saying to yourself right now. You're missing the whole point of the Electoral College. It's to protect the small states from the big states. Give the small states more voting power and the presidential candidates will have to pay them more attention in an election. If that's the goal of the Electoral College, it's failing spectacularly.
Yeah.
Here's a graph showing
yeah.
the number of visits the presidential candidates paid to each of the states in the last 2 months of the previous election. If it looks like there are a few states missing, you're right. Only 18 of the 50 states received even a single visit from a candidate, and just 2 of those states, Maine and New Hampshire, have very small populations. The area of the country with the most small states is conspicuously missing. The Electoral College doesn't make candidates care about small states. But interestingly, the biggest states, California, Texas, and New York, are missing as well. So what's going on? Looking closer, just 4 states, Ohio, Florida, Pennsylvania, and Virginia, received a majority of the candidates' attention during the election. And if you follow the money, it's the same story. Why do candidates spend so much money and time in so few states? Because the way the Electoral College works forces them to do so. The elections are winner take all. As long as a candidate gets just over 50% of the popular vote in a state, he wins 100% of that state's electoral votes. That means winning by millions of citizens' votes is no better than winning by a single vote, so candidates are safe to ignore states where they poll with big margins. Instead, the Electoral College makes candidates intensely interested in the needs of just a few states with close races
Swing
to the
states.
detriment of almost all Americans, which is why it should be abolished.
Yep.
But wait, you might say, won't abolishing the Electoral College and voting directly for president cause candidates to spend all their time in big cities? That wouldn't be fair to most Americans either. This sounds like a reasonable fear, but ignores the mathematical reality of population distribution. There are 309 million people in the United States, only 8 million of which live in New York, the largest city by far. That's 2.6% of the total population. But after New York, the size of cities drops fast. LA has 3.8 million people and Chicago has 2.7. But you can't even make it to the 10th biggest city, San Jose, before you're under 1 million people. These top 10 cities added together are only 7.9% of the popular vote, hardly enough to win an election. And even winning the next 90 biggest cities in the United States, all the way down to Spokane, is still not yet 20% of the total population. So unless there's a city with a few 100 million people
Mega
hiding
city
somewhere in
one.
America
Yes, I
that's been
forgot
left out of the
about that.
census,
All
the
right.
idea that a candidate can just spend their campaign jetting between New York, LA, and Chicago while ignoring everyone else and still become president is mathematically ludicrous. Want to see the real way to unfairly win? How you can become president with only 22% of the popular vote by taking advantage of the Electoral College today. Don't believe that's possible in a democracy? Just watch. Here's the action plan. Win the votes of the people who count the most and ignore the people who count the least. Start with Wyoming, the state where 0.18% of Americans live, but who get 0.56% of the Electoral College votes for president. And because it's a winner-take-all system, you don't need all of them to vote for you, just half plus 1, or 0.09%. Next up is the District of Columbia, where winning 0.1% of the population gets you an additional 0.56% of the Electoral College. Then add in wins in Vermont and North Dakota and Alaska. Notice how the votes you're getting to win the presidency go up much faster than the percent of the population who voted for you because of the Electoral College's rules. Next is South Dakota, then Delaware, Montana, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Maine, Hawaii, Idaho, Nebraska, West Virginia, New Mexico, Nevada, Utah, Kansas, Arkansas, Mississippi, Iowa, Connecticut, Oklahoma, Oregon, Kentucky, Louisiana, South Carolina, Alabama, Colorado, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Maryland, Missouri, Tennessee, Arizona, Indiana, Massachusetts, Virginia, and New Jersey. Congratulations! By taking advantage of the unfair rules and winning states, not people, you've won a majority in the Electoral College even though 78% of the population voted against you. This is not democracy, this is indefensible. While this particular scenario is unlikely, if you have a voting system that allows losers to win, you shouldn't be surprised when they do. Not once, not twice, but thrice in American history, the candidate with the most votes from the people actually lost because of the Electoral College. 3 errors in 55-plus elections is a failure rate of 5%. Would anyone tolerate a sport where, by a quirk of the rules, there was a 5% chance that the loser would win? Not likely. Given how much more important electing the President of the United States is, that's a rather dangerously high percentage of the time to get it wrong. If we abolish the Electoral College and simply let citizens vote for the President directly, all of these problems will go away and everyone's vote will be equal.
There you go. Now, Oh boy. You see, that is what makes me mad. Is that there's so many little problems with the United States that fixing them would take zero to no effort. Zero, very little to no effort at all.
Yeah.
And yet they just gloss over it like nothing. And these little problems and these little itty bitty things cause some of the biggest problems. I just hate the fact that
Your votes don't count.
yeah.
Where everything's made up and the points don't matter.
This is whose line?
It is whose line. It's 100% whose line.
Because like none of the other parties really
Yeah.
matter at all. Like it's just Democrat or Republican. I mean, really the only time in history was Roosevelt, where they had the Bull Moose Party that
Yeah.
kind of played a factor.
Yep.
But I mean, you've got different independents and libertarians, and
They're never going to
can't-
gain ground because
Yeah.
it's
way they,
impossible
like-
to.
Yeah.
because all your state representatives are Democrats or Republicans, so it's going to be one hand or the other. Like
Yeah.
you're picking, I guess.
It doesn't matter if there's a third party. It's never going to gain ground. Because in the UK there's a lot of different parties. There's a lot of them.
Oh, yeah.
And they just had an election that actually had some pretty unfair results itself, but still, it's more equal and more even than the one we have here in the States.
Aside from the fact that, no one man should control any other man.
Right.
You know,
that
setting,
whole slavery thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, that whole government thing.
Yeah.
Setting that aside, which is a difficult thing to do. The fact that you've got, what was the number, 538?
Yep.
You essentially have 538 morons who are speaking for the entire population of the country.
Yeah.
Whether the population of the country agrees with what they say or not.
I see that.
Yeah.
It's a broken system.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very broken system that needs to be done with.
I mean, the way to fix it is to remove it.
Yeah.
Kill it.
It's
Fire cleanses evil.
I can say this. It's cancerous almost.
Yeah.
It's a tumor.
It's not a tumor.
I miss Micah.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, I could, I guess, understand how that would have worked
Hundreds of years
in
ago.
the before times.
Right.
Yeah.
It makes no sense now. And even back then,
It's a
it's
little questionable.
iffy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Little.
iffy at best. Now, completely ridiculous.
Yeah. And you know what? There's something that happened back in the last election.
Mm-hmm.
There were laws signed in that prevented people who did not have a federal or state license, state given license or federal given license. If you did not have one of those, you were not allowed to vote. And did you know? And do you know what their claim was to do that?
What was their claim, Nate?
To crack down on voter fraud, which is such a huge epidemic. You know how many cases of voter fraud there were in the entire last election?
How many, Nate?
86. That's
80
right.
86.
You heard 86. Not 8,600, not 86,000, 86.
Which is going to do, let's see, I believe the scientific term is jack shit.
Yeah, Jack with a side case of all. And it doesn't matter. It does not matter.
It makes no difference.
Yeah. I mean, I could sit here and yap about this all night, but
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I love my country. I love the people in it. I don't love the people who are running it. I don't. The people who are running it are in it for themselves. They're only in it to grip onto what little power they have until they
build
get
a
in the
bank
grave.
account in the process.
Yeah, build a bank account in the process that will last their family for generations. But the fact that they're building that bank account for themselves and starving everyone else out and collapsing the freaking economy, who's that benefiting? Nobody.
It's certainly not the people they are
Sworn to protect.
sworn to serve
Sworn to serve.
on a silver platter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jerk offs.
Thanks, Ray. But, oh, Lord, it's happening. Why did I do that?
You started it.
I did start that, and that's a
Okay.
problem.
And we need to end it. All right.
Yes.
So, guys, we're sorry that we went on a bit of a tear on this one.
A tirade, if
Yeah.
you will.
And we hope
That's
that
not
you
as bad
stuck
as our
with us.
usual one.
No,
so let's
no,
be
no.
fair.
It did stay
I
on
think this
Ah.
stayed. I think this stayed here. I think this pretty much brought out everything we were going to say.
I think we had a worse time with the rap battle.
He's very thorough with his videos.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah, incredibly.
yeah. So,
That's impressive.
guys, what did you all think about this? And if you thought this was a good video, leave us a like. Leave a comment down below if there's something else you want us to watch. If you want us to watch more CGP Grey videos, we will. As a matter of fact, there's a few that I'm wanting us to watch, but we'll save that for another time. And don't forget to subscribe, everyone. And until next time, we will see you later, Internet. Peace out.